Hi everyone, welcome to North and South Pods. We've got friend of the show, Paul Garrigan, back on. And Paul has been on before. He's done a podcast with us before, spoke really well about overcoming trauma and finding meaning in life. So I'll put details in the notes about that previous podcast that I've done with Paul. Well worth a listen and well worth checking out his excellent work. So Paul, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you, mate. Really good. Busy at the minute, but yeah, can't complain, mate.
Good. You're enjoying the fine weather?
I know, I know it's about time, mate.
Now, let's get things sorted first. You don't actually live in Bootle, you live in Litherland, which is just next to Bootle, is that right?
I live in Litherland, mate. Yeah.
Cool. So you're a little bit of an outsider, but this is
Yeah.
Bootle and Beyond, so we welcome people on board, no matter who you are. We've got a set list of questions as part of this series, but then we'll go off track and talk about anything else that we find interesting. But one being amazing and 10 being really bad, where would you put yourself at the moment?
In terms of what, mate, when we're saying that? In
Right
terms
now,
of me
just
health,
how you
well-being?
feeling right now?
Okay, two,
Three,
two, 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 two
two.
or three, yeah.
There
Two,
you go. That's good.
yeah.
Someone said to me recently when I did my last one, he said, well, he said, I'll probably give myself a four. He said, but if you'd asked me in the middle of winter, I might have give you something a bit lower, which is, it's always interesting the impact the weather has on people, isn't it? But
Mm,
glad to hear you're doing well. And how long have you lived in Litherland then?
all my life, mate. I mean, everybody used to say I live right on the border, mate. By the way, so I grew up on Lineker Road.
Hmm.
And my mum and dad, my mum was from Nosey Road and my dad was from Marsh Lane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've lived there all my life, mate, just off Lineker Road, and I live a
Yeah.
little bit further into Litherland now, mate.
Cool. And what school did you go to, just out of interest? I went to Savio.
St Wilfrid's,
The Wilfreds, oh, it's
the
gone
Wilfrids, mate. Yeah,
now.
they
It's
knocked
all
it down
houses.
after we left, mate. They didn't want to bring any more through like us.
Yeah. Do you know what though? It's interesting just tapping into things like heritage and talking about like,
Mm,
like when you hear people who are older than you talking about old school names and you're like, what? I've never heard of that. But like St. Wilfred's, yeah. I used to
yeah,
play footy there on a Tuesday. Loads of my mates went there and now it's all houses, isn't it? Madness.
yeah. It's all houses, mate. It's gone.
Cool. So you can answer this as broadly as you want, and I know you do work to do with this, but what do you want in life? What are you looking for in life
To reach my full potential,
to reach your
and
full potential?
to reach my full potential, to help as many men as I can to create a big movement in the world, to be able to, when I'm on my deathbed, to know that I brought all my dreams to life and I've done as much as I could, not just for myself, but for everybody that I knew.
Cool. So what kind of work are you doing at the moment then?
So the work I'm doing at the minute, it's basically done on a platform called Men's Inner Mastery Academy,
Yeah.
which basically runs programs for men, men from different backgrounds, if you like, men who are in business, men who are doing well, entrepreneurs, men who are, just the working man, if you like, and being able to help them to tap into their untapped potential by, running these different courses, by giving them different tools, techniques, modalities that are maybe not out there in the world and easily accessible in order to get them to, create their own roadmap and blueprint for living the life that they want. Looking at statistics, I think around 98 to 98% of men are involved and are in a job that they're not satisfied in, they're not fulfilled, and they lack meaning and purpose in life. It's really around unlocking that for men and getting them to, to create their life by design so they can become the master of the destiny.
That sounds really good. And I know that times are shifting and times are changing. We've got all these technological revolutions. The whole dynamic of society is changing. And I think like one of the things many people say is that like, oh, in order to be like concerned about kind of men, you kind of like
Mm.
anti-woman, but it's not about that at all, is it? It's about like saying, what are the particular issues that affect men in the world and looking to deal with them? Do you know what I mean? So do
Mm.
you have contact details and things that you do, or how can people find out about your work?
To find out about my work, mate, and to follow me on Instagram and then
Insta, yeah.
connect with me, mate. Yeah, connect with me
Cool.
on Instagram, have a chat with me, and I offer a 15-minute like coffee chats, mate,
Yeah.
with men, Tim, to be able to just help them see where they're at right now and try to give them a pathway forward, really, for whatever's happening in their life. And it's
Yeah.
funny, mate, that you mentioned then that a lot of, with men, they talk about if men are trying to help men, that there's usually an anti-woman.
Yeah.
But the thing with many men is, mate, is they don't understand women. So a lot of the problems happen in relationships, but if we can help men to understand both sides of the coin, if you like, mate, and understanding women better, we take care of a big problem, really.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because I think that the idea, you get a lot of this idea, don't you, of like certain men who talk in a particular way about women, but like to advocate for men, it's not an anti-woman posture at all. It's about better understanding of everyone, isn't it? And if you
Yeah.
look at what the crisis affecting men, that identity thing, I felt that. I felt that in recent years, reevaluating my career and what I'm doing with my life. And I took a big leap about a year ago after 25 years of teaching, and I just thought I couldn't look at myself in the mirror and not make the change and have a go. Do you know what I mean? And it was a big thing for me. And I think another thing is becoming a father to a young son 5 years ago. That's completely changed my perspective on it all as well. It's like, do I want to be doing a job that I'm not into and I'm just not feeling? I just didn't feel validated or recognized in that job anymore. And I feel like I've made changes and I'm doing things to help me. But it's great that we'll share your Instagram where people can speak to you and relate with you. Now, you've done a few things on YouTube. I watched your you did a thing with someone called Reese recently. I watched that. That was really interesting. So have you been doing work with individuals and with groups? Is that how it kind of works?
No, to be honest, mate, I don't do any individual work or one-to-one work anymore. It's just everything's too busy, if you like,
Yeah.
and doing the group work, mate. So basically, I think Reeve he's only 20, mate, or 21, Reeve, and he joined Men's in a Mastery Academy in January.
Yeah.
And bearing his age, mate, bearing in mind his age, and he's coming into a group where, it's a big age range. I think the youngest we've got is 20. The oldest is probably 59, but there's a big variety, mate, of men in there. And what we're trying to create is that ecosystem, if you like, Tim. A lot of men have had issues with the father growing up. So within there, mate, we've got wise elders, we've got men in there, mate, no word of a lie, mate, a couple of £1 million businesses they've got. But internally, mate, they're empty. The relationships are struggling, they're failing, but then we've got younger lads who are striving for business success, and they don't see the pitfalls, mate, that can maybe happen later on in the lives, mate, when we're just chasing everything externally and materialistically, if you like. So it's like a full wraparound, mate, I say, is to be able to give men every little bit of support that they need in order to get them to nurture themselves, mate, so they can go on to be the man that they know they want to be.
Brilliant. That sounds so good. So people can get in contact with you, and then you can work in the group work and learn from other men as well, and share expertise and ideas and things that have worked for them. I think that thing about the father figure or lack of, or what being a father is a big thing. And I write down like what I want from life, and then the top of my list is to be a good father for my son. And like, there's no book, is there, saying is what a good father is. Quite recently, someone questioned the way I do things with my son, and I'm always happy for like advice. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't like the way it was done. Took real offence from it, as if like, oh, you're not a proper father kind of figure. Really triggered me. You know what I mean? And it's those kind of tensions which we need to get out in the open and explore and look at, because there is a lot of anxiety about those kind of roles now, isn't there? Like, what is it to be a man? What is it to be a father? We need to talk more. Fellas are just awful at talking sometimes. And I know some who are quite good and quite open, but I've got mates just will not speak about emotions and anything like that. And I just think it's so important that people are open and people do discuss things.
I agree, mate. And what I find, mate, is people say men don't talk, and in the open, mate, men don't talk. But I do believe when we create the right atmosphere and the right ambience, mate, for men to talk, which means creating a space that is safe, where people are showing the vulnerabilities, where people are opening up, and it is really a strong held container. Men, have transformational experiences and releases, which allows them to, maybe move through things that they may never have had the opportunity to share before. They may never have had, the space in which to be able to open themselves up in such a way. So that's sort of what I find, mate. I think that the problem sometimes gets put onto men, Tim, that men have a problem. But if we create spaces that men can talk, I believe, mate, me and yourself, there's proof, mate, that men will talk when the right environment's created for that to happen.
I couldn't agree more, mate. And like I feel like I've been on this journey throughout my life. Have you got any any key issues or concerns that worry you other than, I'm just going through my set questions, but I think you've kind of addressed that about like giving men meaning and fulfillment. Is there anything else that you find are the big issues or concerns that worry you at the moment in your own life, in wider society? You can answer that as narrowly or as broadly as you want.
For me, mate, I just think that the biggest concern, mate, would be how, I think we've in the podcast we've had in the past, mate, the school system is a concern for me
Mm.
in terms of kids coming through, the amount of kids getting diagnosed with ADHD, the amount of family systems that are breaking up, the lack of resources that people are given to be self-empowered, the amount of people that are being given medication rather than being given simple tools that, no medication's needed. If we're giving people and empowering them from a young age. And I think, mate, like anybody, mate, devices and AI, I'm actually excited about it, mate, and I believe it's an opportunity for empowerment. Everything I'm talking to you about here, mate, I think every challenge presents a big opportunity. But if we don't deal with these challenges that are presenting themselves, then obviously, mate, we're heading to a tough few years, mate, and tough times for everyone.
Yeah, and I know we spoke about this before. I've just done a podcast with two other ex-teachers, and we were talking about similar issues about the one-size-fits-all category. I know you've done a lot of good work in schools, speaking to people and working with people, but this idea that we're painting a third of kids as failures, it doesn't sit right with me. And we know as adults, if someone puts you in a room doing something you don't want to do, imagine you feel alienated, and that's what we're asking young people to do.
Well, that's what ADHD is. Tim, if I come to you and my missus starts talking to me about women's clothes, mate, and I switch off, is that ADHD? Because the same area of the brain will switch off because I don't really care about women's clothes.
Yeah.
Same thing, mate, if I start talking to her about work and she switches off, is that ADHD? Because she's got no interest in what I'm saying. So if a child sitting in a maths classroom, he's got no interest in learning maths because it's not linked to any of his values that he wants to do, and he switches off. He gets, basically told he's got ADHD. Which he has in the maths class that he doesn't really give, any interest to.
Yeah, and the idea of everyone sitting in a room listening to a particular set of values and a particular curriculum, which is 150 years old, out of like 400,000 years of evolution, doesn't sit right with me. And as I've got older, that in the end I just couldn't justify it anymore. It's part of the reasons why I left teaching. But I think that's a big issue. This is a good one, and I know you'll have something to say about this. One piece of advice that you would give to people, and the fellow who was on before you from Bootle Action Group, Mike Brenner, I asked him and he said, as a young adult, try and save more money, which again I think ties in with, I forgot to ask him that online, and I said I'd add it in the next episode. But there's a lot of anxiety I felt as a man about being able to provide for my family, for my responsibilities. I felt that pressure. No one said to me, you are expected to do this, but I felt that, whether it's a social issue or whatever. His advice was to save when you're a young adult, maybe before kids or whatever. But have you got any piece of advice for anyone, really? What would you say is your key piece?
I think rather than, when we go into schools and kids come out of schools, they're taught how to get a job and to, go into the mundane living and go and do something to pay your taxes, get a house, marry a partner, have kids and then die. My advice is find out what you love and then go and monetize it and make it a business, because everything, whatever it is that you love is valuable, and you can then go and create something that won't feel like work for you, where you won't need to go and have holidays and drink over a weekend to escape it, because you're doing exactly what you love. You'll be, you'll make your vocation your vacation.
That's brilliant, mate, because I've got like an affirmations thing I do every day, and your love and then monetize what you love piece of advice is one of my affirmations based on our previous discussion. And to do what you're put on earth to do, and to do it, and to make a living from it, or to do well out of it, I just think that is such a wonderful thing to be able to do. And the fact that many people are denied that or never even seek to pursue it in the first place, it's like it doesn't enter people's heads or whatever. I think it's a great tragedy, but I think that's a fantastic piece of advice. So we'll share all your details anyway, Paul. Anything else you want to say before we go? What are you doing for the rest of your day?
The rest of my day, mate, I've got a couple of hours work to do, and then it's the derby tonight, mate, isn't it?
You blue or a red?
I'm a red, mate, even though I've got a blue top, and I'll change it before the
Oh,
game.
I'm a blue. I'm a blue. So
My partner's a blue though, mate. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, that's a good thing with like to do on this series. Like I was talking to someone recently, like the other day, about like rugby and that, and I just go, where I'm
Mm.
from, there was just football. You know what I mean? It's a big part of like Liverpool, isn't it? The football and that. And
Football and boxing, mate, usually,
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. Football and boxing. But yeah, fan traditions in the city. And, let's see what happens tonight. Well, by the time people listen to this, they'll know what would have happened. Liverpool going for the league and Everton looking to look to get into like lower mid-table. So,
Yeah.
there you
What's it
go.
called? The Cup Winners' Cup.
Cup Winners' Cup, yeah. No worries. Right, Paul, thanks for coming
Boss,
on
mate.
and for
Rob,
sharing your wisdom. Best of luck with everything. And I'll share all your details as well with people. And I would
thank you.
recommend people speak to Paul because he talks sense. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, mate.